So let's look at some simple loop examples. Now I've got some PHP code set up here, and as you can see, what it does currently is it does a simple print statement. So let's add a for loop in. Now the syntax for that is we go for, and then we use the round brackets, and then we use braces like this, and everything between the braces will run over and over again. So let's put some information in here. Now the information in here that comes in three parts. First thing we use is we have our counter, and we're just going to make up a variable for that. So let's call it, I don't know, let's call it J, and I'm going to give it an initial value of 0. We use semicolons to separate these items. And what comes next is a condition, and what that condition is going to do is it's going to indicate how many times this loop should run, because what happens is it's a test. It's evaluated every time we go around the loop to see whether it's true or false, and if it's true we continue to do the loop, and if it's false we stop. So my initial value of J is going to be 0, and when J is greater than 10 that will return false and we will drop out of the loop. And the other thing that we have to do is in the third part we have to add our change indicator, which more often than not is an increment. So I'm just going to go $J++. If you remember, that's the shorthand notation to basically mean add 1 to J. Now anything that we put inside the brace that runs over and over again. So I'm just going to do something like this. Let's go print, and let's have a paragraph, and let's go in the loop like that. So I'm going to print out some HTML and a string. I'll leave it spaced out there so you can see what it looks like. So let's save that. And what we can do is we can come over to here, and now we can run it. So let's see what happens. And there you go, you can see it's gone round the loop over and over again, and every time it goes round the loop it's just doing this print statement, print, 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 print. As we're going round the loop you can see that J, its value is changed until we get to the point where J is greater than, or J becomes 10, and then at that point that condition fails, it evaluates to false, and we drop out of the loop. Now there's no reason why you can't use J actually in the loop somewhere. So let's, as an example, let's print it out. So let's go print $J. So I'm going to save that, and let's run it again. So now I've got 2 lines inside the loop that will be done over and over again. And what will happen is now we get a little peek at the value of J. So let's try it out. If I click refresh, there we go. You can see the initial value of J is 0, and what happens is we go round and round and round the loop until we get to the point where J is 9. 1 is added to J, J becomes 10, that evaluates to false, and we drop out of the loop. And any code that was at this point would then run there. Now, you know, we could use the value of J to actually do something. So, for example, we could use it in a calculation. So we could go print, let's do something like, well, we'll start off with paragraph, and let's go, I don't know, let's make it up, 5 times, let's go $J. So I'm going to use string concatenation there. So I'm going to go 5 times whatever the value of J is, and then what we could do is we could go is, and then we could just actually print out what J times 5 is. So let's go 5 times $J. And then we can close that off, and we could put a little paragraph, oops, close that off, close brackets, and then stick on a closing paragraph indicator. So let's have a look and see what we've got here. I'll just type it out so you can see. We'll have a paragraph, and then we'll go 5 times, and then we'll have the value of J. So let's imagine the value of J is 2, and then it'll go is, and then here it'll go 5 times 2. So in other words, that would return the value 10. And then over here, we would print out the closing paragraph. So that's what that rather complicated line does. We've got 1 to 3 strings and 2 bits where variables are being used. So let's try it out. So I'm just going to, let's just comment that out. So it turns green in Notepad++, so we know it's not going to actually be evaluated by the PHP processor. And let's run it, see what happens. There we go. So you can see we're doing something a little bit more complicated here. We're actually using the value of j inside the loop to do a print statement. So we've got 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 1 is 5, etc. all the way down. Now the examples that I've shown so far actually print. I mean, it doesn't have to be a print statement. It could be anything that's going to involve the use of j. So, you know, we could keep a running total or something. Let's say we've got a variable called add up, and I'm going to give it an initial value of 0. And what we could do is we could go, I'm going to take add up, and what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to add onto it. So I'm going to take add up, I'm going to add on the value of j. So this time around, my for loop isn't actually going to print anything. What it's going to do is it's going to do a mathematical operation, something quite simply. I'm just going to add j onto this variable add up. Oops, there we go. And then let's print it out. So let's go print paragraph, the value is, close the paragraph, like that. And in here, we will print the value of add up. So I'll just paste that in there. Quick check. So I'm going to have something which is going to be like some value that we're adding up. It's going to start with the initial value of 0, and as we progress around the loop, we're going to add j to it over and over again. But there's no printing going on here. There's just a mathematical operation, and then we're going to print the value out. So let's run it, see what happens. Ooh, oh, I didn't save. Save. Click refresh. The value of add up is, oh, classic mistake, forgot to put a $sign on the front. There we go. Save it. Click refresh. The value is 45. So what's happening here is it starts off with a value of 0, and then it has 1 added to it, and then it has 2 added to it, and then it has 3 added to it, and 4 added to it, and 5 added to it, etc. over and over again. And then at the end, when the loop terminates, at this point here, what happens is that value is printed out.